Mail merge documents will waste printer ink. So I worked in an office where we had a one-page form needed for all clients that was attached to their vehicle for repair. 70% of the info was the same for these forms, but we were filling them in by hand. It took ages. My hand would cramp and it was dull and stopped us from doing other tasks. I suggested that we could set the computer up. I would set it up and show the others to print at the very least the info that was the same for every form. I even explained that we could have the forms printed from an Excel sheet with all the specific info. The office manager's response was that it would waste printer ink. This is in Australia for context, where everyone was on at least $20 USD per hour, so I did as instructed. Until my last day. Using a lot of pens ironically. On my last day when we had the jobs for the day, I spent 20 minutes creating the spreadsheet and had it print out the entire normal morning's workload for 3 of us in under 30 minutes. Printed the whole lot. Dumped them on the manager's desk and went to morning tea. Stayed through lunch, walked back after lunch, gathered my things and left. TLDR, 9 hours of daily labor should have been 30 minutes, but using printer ink is expensive. Back in my day, we chiseled the forms on stone tablets. I think, waste printer ink, is probably how dinosaurs make. We've done it this way forever and I won't listen to any suggestions about changing it. Sound like a reasonable argument. The paid $540 a day in wages to save, what, $5 in printer toner? Damn. I hope you deleted the spreadsheet when you were done, too. Sometimes, it's not about the cost but which department will have to pay it. I am so sorry. As you know, mail merge is your friend. I had to do about 100 letters one day. We knew we'd have to do that, but didn't know exactly when. And when we got the word they had to be done quickly. So I pre-populated everything I knew in the Excel file. When I got the last bit, I put that in, hit the button and away we went. And when we were told, oops, no, change this piece of info to this piece of info, it still was easier than back in the old days when I'd have had to retype every freaking letter. A decent portion of my job used to be teaching office productivity software. Word, Excel, PowerPoint, Project, and Visio, back in the 1990s. I can't tell you how often I had to explain to people and convince them to automate processes. Yes, you can fill out that single form in 2 minutes. And, yes, it will take you 15 minutes to set it up for automation. But then printing second takes 3 as does the third and the fourth, etc. People are terrified of change. Even after proving that we could save hours a week automating tasks, they would go back to the old ways in a week or 2. It's like one of those restaurant makeover shows. Places going under and Gordon Ramsay or someone comes in and completely redoes the menu and gets rid of the microwave, and 6 months later they are reheating entrees and closed down for good. People don't like to change. During a round of redundancies, a whole department went and the tasks got absorbed into ours. The processes and procedures were so ridiculous and time-consuming we immediately changed pretty much everything to streamline. I think they kept them to justify it being a 2-person department when now it's a half-day job. Each day for 1 person. I'm all for automating tasks like this. But mail merge, at least for printing labels, is a task you must master thoroughly or leave alone. In a volunteer post I held for a while, I was charged with printing labels for envelopes from a recipient's list on a spreadsheet. This was quarterly, so 3 months went by between attempts. And even keeping notes. That wasn't enough to make it to the top of the learning curve. The instructions for doing a mail merge like this are laid out in front of you amongst the tabs on the spreadsheet. It should be foolproof. Well, I guess I proved I'm not a fool because I could never get it to work correctly on the first go. There was always something that went wrong, even as I followed those instructions. I threw it over. Somebody else can do this or it won't get done. In the end, those mailings were converted to emailings. So the problem went away. Never been happier about it. I don't argue that this is inevitable. Like anything, with practice it can undoubtedly be mastered. But once I achieved usable, though usually less than ideal, labels, I quit right there, not wanting to waste time. Toner and label sheets. If it had only been 20 or so addresses, I would have hand-addressed the envelopes. It was that bad. Equals 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 equals. Anticipating questions about what went wrong. Some issues I remember. Followed. Ambiguous. Printer instructions. Only to print on the back of the labels. Followed mail merge instructions only for the printing to fall outside the cut labels, as no margin was built in per label, and attempts to use the ruler to create a margin just didn't work. Printed a sheet of multiple copies of one label, rather than a sheet of different labels. Got everything right, but one label printed as 4 lines instead of 3, as it had been shown on the screen, screwing up the entire rest of the sheet. And the worst part was that I was keeping notes in the 3-month intervals and I'd still screw up in some way. 3 months down the road, I was at a mortgage company where they offered 450 mortgage products, but in reality only ever sold 19 and regularly 7. They would waste 1 ream of paper, 489 out of 500 sheets, per station to print this every single day. I made an intranet page that would allow you to look up all this info from the database real-time, while looking exactly like the old paper sheets, and even allowed sort options including most popular, loan type, states allowed, etc., meaning that if you were smart at all, you could find the proper loan while on the phone with the customer in seconds. I also allowed it to be printed to look almost exactly like the old sheets. I got so many complaints that the world would end. Hence the printing option. I was ruining their system. But within a month, only 2 stations were still printing the whole thing every day. And within another month, 1. Then that lady, who had been there for decades, was laid off for reasons, but mostly because she refused to get with the program and thought that she was more important than she was. I saved the company $100,000 a year in printing costs by saving 9 hours of labor. You've just eliminated a job position. Perhaps that's why they didn't want to automate? It doesn't make it any less stupid, but it could make a small amount of sense on an organizational level. If one person is in charge of the office supply budget but not personnel and payroll, I can see them protecting their little fiefdom by working to keep down the costs they have control over at the expense of costs they don't. Still stupid though. I've seen this attitude and then my last 2 jobs, particularly from the IT staff. If I don't know how to do it, it can't be done. I've been doing admin work and application-level tech support work for years, and it really pisses them off that I know how to do these things. It points out their inadequacies and it pisses them off. The IT staff rarely like me. Writing by hand is obviously cheaper, that's why books are all handwritten instead of printed. Should have attached a note saying, "No need to replace my position. Just have someone run this file each day." As someone who has worked exclusively in the print and design industry since 2009, the post title alone made my eye start twitching. That's not how that works. That's not how any of that works. I guess your manager cared less about efficiency and more about their goddamn printer. Allow me to change the conversation. By doing it manually, they were gainfully employing more people than they otherwise would have by automating the task. That means more people buying groceries and having a place to sleep indoors. Sure, it seems antiquated, but how many people became redundant and got laid off once the task was automated? In situations like these, it's better to do it and ask for forgiveness. But you were working with some serious idiots. When it comes to office managers, a vehicle repair shop isn't getting the brightest talents. I once had a similar interaction with a low-level manager, but she was trying to save jobs. If we showed that work could be done quicker, one of the low-wage workers would have been laid off.
If you enjoyed this video, please check out our playlists full of similar content. Epicaricast is like doom scrolling for your ears. Please like, share, and subscribe.